We want to know, PFF Brad, what are your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL? 9 is Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is 9?
Jalen Hurts was 9.
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Off by the Game Day. We got a very special guest on the pod yet again. We got Brad Spielberger, PFF Brad on the pod.
Cap
God. Salary.
Everything Adam wants to be.
Cap God on Caps
bro.
Off. That's exactly right. We needed to get the Cap God on. What's going on, Brad? Welcome
How we
in.
doing? Doing well.
I said it off the pod.
Yeah.
A lot of good beards on this podcast right now. A lot of good beards.
A lot of good beard. Also a lot of height. A lot of height. We just
right
brought the average height up.
That's true. Yeah, you're tall.
We did. I was surprised not the tallest guy here. That's a rarity.
That's crazy.
Yeah, what's up?
I mean,
I'm always the tallest guy.
You size a guy up, you walk in, you
got
kind of
a-
like you do a little,
We got a decent starting 5 right now. 2
Yeah,
6'7s, 2 or 6'7", 6'8".
I could walk out.
I'll
Play the
three.
average height would jump quite a
I
bit,
think
too.
you got to run the point. I'll be like Kyle Korver, just kind of roaming around.
Yeah,
shooting.
You're a shooter.
You know, 3-point line to 3-point line. We don't get in
Felipe's
the
our
paint.
Nate Robinson. He's just got
Felipe's also the
got
3
the bunnies.
We got 2 3
Yeah,
guys.
that's a good point.
Got the bunnies.
But yeah, hey,
Anyway.
we finally can recap some things too.
I know.
Some
Actually,
happened.
Shit finally
shit
happened.
actually happened. Before we get into what actually did happen in the NFL this weekend, Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into capping? I know it's not actually capping, but
Nice.
talking about salary cap,
capper.
working with PFF, all that stuff. Tell us and the listeners a little bit about it.
Yeah. So I went to Tulane Law School, and
Shout out.
Tulane has a pro football negotiation competition. You fly in schools from about 48 different schools, do a mock negotiation, say, hey, you're Amari Cooper, you're the Dallas Cowboys, try to hammer out a deal.
That's
Look at Adam.
Oh, yeah, no, it's like, go back to school. You have eligibility.
Oh,
Yeah, and the judges gets better. The judges are NFL front office guys or agents, and they come in, they listen to negotiation, kind of give you feedback, how'd you go, whatever. So ran that my third year of law school, met a bunch of people, and we had some PFF guys in town give us data used for negotiations, go to the combine, mill around, and got a job at PFF.
Are you doing any legal
That's
work?
sick, bro.
So legal stretch that term pretty far. I'll look
Yeah.
at contracts, I'll analyze language, get feedback on it. I think this is a good or bad language for your player. So yes, to a degree, but I'm not going to court. I'm not a litigator or anything like that.
That would be hilarious if you represented players in court and worked for PFF. Oh man, took
That's
Deshaun
great.
Watson through that whole shit or something. That
I
would be
don't know if I
crazy.
want that job.
Yeah,
I know. That's a
negotiate his
bad
contract.
job.
Shout out David Mogetta.
Dude, that's so sick.
I would
though.
clear that competition.
Would you?
Probably not.
Probably not. You probably get last, but you would think you would do really
Hey,
well.
it's all about it's a mindset. you know?
Confidence half the battle. So
Yeah, exactly. I'm coming in there. Hey, Deshaun, don't give him fully guaranteed. All right, winner takes all. That's all it is.
Wow, that was good.
All right,
good,
we'll
right?
talk about
That's really good.
we'll talk about some actual NFL. Speaking of guys that play with Deshaun, DeAndre Hopkins just signed a contract this weekend with the Titans.
that.
All right, I guess I know your
worst
Nice
fucking
hat.
place where you go.
Nice hat.
I want to know.
bro.
I want to know. We'll go around. I want to know all your thoughts. We'll start with Brad. Brad, what do you think of the Deshaun Watson? Oh, Jesus
This
Christ!
is Deshaun.
Get that too.
What do you think of the Deshaun Watson contract? Pretty fucked.
What do you,
No, it's a good contract.
Brad? What do you think
For
about
him.
the DeAndre Hopkins contract with the Titans?
I mean, it's just interesting. They've had Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, like going right back to the well. I still think he's a good player. I do. He's not an elite number 1 receiver anymore, but even look at last year when he played, he's getting peppered with targets. I think he was third in the NFL in targets when he played. I just don't know what Tennessee's doing. Are you taking a step back and rebuilding? Are you trying to contend still in a bad division? It's just like I don't mind the deal in a vacuum. I just question what are you trying to accomplish if you're Titans.
Definitely doesn't. I also question D-Hop because at the same time, what do you say? You want a stable organization, a good defense, all these things,
Contender.
but but
They're
Tennessee's
they're
not-
contender now.
They are not a Super Bowl.
They're not a
team.
contender.
No, not a Super Bowl contender.
That's what he wanted. A Super Bowl.
But
contender.
once you get into the playoffs and anything can happen.
My
The
biggest
Giants
thing
did it
is
a
if
couple
you
times.
were gonna you were gonna get those $12 million from a Kansas City or a Buffalo or any of these better teams if you just waited till training camp. Why did you have to just press the button right now?
Do you think you would have?
Honestly, there are deals where guys take less money for football reasons. He wanted money, and you can't hold against him. He wanted the best deal. I don't think Kansas City or Buffalo were nowhere close to what he got from Tennessee. New
Okay,
England
that's
maybe
it.
somewhat in the ballpark.
But if you would have waited till training camp when you could actually cut guys and assess what you have, you don't think $12 million is not that much. He's on an average annual value basis, he's the 22nd highest paid wide receiver right now.
still don't see it. Buffalo's second in cash spending. I just don't think they're going to keep going that well.
It,
I hear you. I just don't see it.
like he's better. He's a top 15 wide receiver in my opinion. Still,
I think it's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, the Titans can compete now. And, yes, Levis and all that kind of stuff. Is it Levis or Levis?
Levis.
Manu.
Levis can compete. Or Levis is going to have to try to compete for that quarterback spot. But now that he's there, you're probably having Tannehill start because Hopkins doesn't want to play with Levis. No. So as soon as that happens, like, it's a bad division. Like you said, the Jaguars are probably the best team there, but they're not a surefire playoff team by any means either. Like, I don't know if they're going to go out and just completely win that division. So the Titans can compete now. And once you compete, like, what were they? It was 2 years ago they were the first seed?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They could be the first seed again this year. Or not the first seed again this year, but they could win the division this year and compete for
top 4 seed.
Try to win, yeah.
Their weapons like 5 years ago would be scary, man. Derrick Henry and D-Hop.
Yeah, back when Bobby
and
Tree
Ryan
was actually
Tannehill.
good, too.
Yeah,
like,
true.
Oh, if they had if they had like AJ Brown too still
Oh,
with,
my
with
God.
D-Hop.
Dude, imagine if they could use a receiver like that. That'd be pretty sweet for them.
DeAndre, I just don't understand the D-Hop wanting to go to Tennessee. Is it just like, why would you rather Tennessee over New England? Because I wouldn't.
You must like country music a lot more than we think.
That would play. I went to Vanderbilt, so yeah, Nashville always plays. I mean, I think honestly too, no one talked about like him, Bill O'Brien. I don't think had the best of relationships in Houston, and he's in New England now.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously visited there, but people kind of gloss over the fact that he basically chased him out of town.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting. Jack, you hate the contract?
I just no. The contract for the Titans is fine. Yeah, if you can get DeAndre Hopkins for that cheap, fuck it, why not? But like, that's one of the last places I wanted to see DeAndre Hopkins go. Like, I want to see that guy get a ring, and he's not going to fucking do it in Tennessee. It's just gross. Just gross. Tennessee, the Titans are former wide receiver superstar purgatory with Randy Moss and Andre Johnson. I forgot Andre Johnson.
Yeah, I
was
completely
on
forgot
the
about
Titans.
that.
So
Here's
Like,
my name,
I saw some graphic
oh.
yesterday. I was like, "Oh fuck, that's right, he was there." Like,
Yeah.
with those two, and then Julio Jones. Like, none of them ever did anything for the.
That
Titans.
was
I don't
so
know what it
sad
was.
with Julio too.
Well, because I thought when he was going there, I was like, he was still like in the prime of his career, and I feel like that's what we think with D-Hop still. And I'm curious if we're gonna see a fall off like you saw with Julio and like you saw with Andre Johnson and Randy Moss. Like, I don't know.
With
feel
Julio,
it's
it was
weird.
like stark too. It was like drastic. Like he
Oh,
went
it
from
was
being
off a cliff.
that top 5 receiver solidified to
But that was that offseason when everyone was trying to trade for Julio, and that's what this offseason was with D-Hop. So I'm curious if there's like something we don't know.
The fuck is going on in Tennessee? I agree with what you said.
That's what I'm saying.
What are they trying to be? Because I get
Pick
it.
a lane.
Sure, but like I get it. Maybe Jacksonville isn't as good and they can compete in the division, but like it does. I
Jacksonville
don't
might be
understand the
better.
DeAndre Hopkins signing. I just really don't.
And I liked what they did. Like, look, now you're paying Tannehill $27 million this year. Yeah, D-Hop's deal's not terrible, but you could just flush the entire thing, start over, and build out the Will Levis era. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of just delaying the inevitable there.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, if you draft a quarterback,
yeah, but
this year-
that's Vrabel, right? Like
Yeah, for sure.
He's gonna want to compete every year he's there. And you just don't see a guy with that kind of competitive spirit. He's kind of mailing it in and being like, "Oh, let's just try something new and go for the future." I don't know. I think he's gonna want to try to compete. But to your point, Jack, receivers, I don't think they care about rings. Because it doesn't help their resume at all. It doesn't help their like. When do we look at receivers and be like, okay, he has a ring, so he's better than this guy? Like, it doesn't matter. Fitz could have had a ring on his resume, and it wouldn't have helped him
still
whatsoever.
top 10,
It's actually a really good point.
Yeah, Randy.
Oh, yeah, Randy Moss never won. No, he won the one.
No, he didn't.
No,
He lost to the Giants.
18-0. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, but you give him that ring, and it doesn't make him any better, right?
Yeah.
Julian Edelman, like, is he better than other guys? I mean, playoff performance, sure, but
So are you saying wide receivers don't care about rings?
I don't think they give a fuck about rings. Like, and
with you.
he had it on his checklist or whatever that we saw, right? That got like leaked or whatever. That
might have
he
just been his
wanted.
agent.
He needed a quarterback. Yeah, it might have just been his agent. And he wanted a chance to go win a ring, but like, did he really, bro?
Doesn't every fucking player always say though, like, oh yeah, I want to win a ring. That's the most important.
They
thing.
have to say that 'cause it's like-
they say it, but do you actually believe it? No, they just want fucking money. It's a job. I want to get paid the most to do the same amount of work, right?
Yeah.
That's all you want to do at the end of the day.
I'm just trying to think of positions. Like, you're right.
Quarterback. Quarterback matters.
Yeah,
Other
but
than-
outside of the quarterback position, I don't think any other position you're sitting there being like, they need a ring to be considered one of the greats. If the stats are there, you're going to be considered one of the greats.
It doesn't.
Like Tyree going to South Beach. He's like, yeah, I'll see you later. I'm gonna
Bro,
go.
we are winning a Super Bowl
we
this year.
showed
When I
him
say
my-
we, it's because I'm the general manager of the Dolphins. I told you off camera.
Yeah, you and Chris Greer.
Me and
going
Greer
at it.
are boys. I wear a hat every day. He
Honestly,
wears a
River
hat every day.
Craycraft is probably the difference for you guys this year.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, if we kept Trent Sherfield, we would have been fine. But
Obviously,
that's
yeah.
a big loss.
Minor legend.
That's a
That's
big
Nah,
loss.
very
That's a big
loss.
loss.
Very loss.
Next topic. Today's the last day that players with a franchise tag could sign an extension.
Yeah, they could.
So there's 3 major running backs that could sign an extension. That's Saquon, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs. Do you think any of those 3 running backs should sign an extension today before their franchise tag is up?
Keyword should.
Right, should's an interesting word there. I mean, The thing with the market is it's just so bad that I do think if an offer is decent, you probably should take it. I think Jacobs probably has not seen a good offer. Pollard, I don't think they even talked to him. It's like, hey, you broke your leg. We want to keep you around, but we're not going to give you a multi-year deal. With Saquon, I mean, just because the injury history, if you get into the, mix in Derrick Henry, 12.5, 13 million range, I probably do take it. But I also get why he wouldn't want to. It's still an affront and an insult. The guys that face the franchise. You don't see Daniel Jones billboards. We drive around the city.
Yeah.
But with all due respect. but yeah, I mean, it's tough.
The poster above my bed, but yeah.
On your bathroom mirror.
But it doesn't. Saquon sitting out doesn't do anything for him. He's not going to gain any more leverage. Like it's almost maybe he gets 13.5, but that's his ceiling. So you either take the deal and play it out and then show your value, show your worth as a top running back, or you consistently sit out. You become Le'Veon Bell in some capacity. When Le'Veon Bell sat out, 2 years or a year and a half it was? It's not like he got any more money than the tag was giving him.
And his outcome is probably as good as you're going to do. You get a dumb team like the Jets to throw you a decent contract. Again, with all due respect. And
no respect to the Jets.
And that's a good outcome. And that, so.
Oh, you got it?
I think what is Saquon expecting money to be there? What happened? We're man down, phone down.
We're good.
Is Saquon expecting money to be there in the same way that CMC, David Johnson, like those types of absurd monies? Like the running back value could not be lower right now than it in. I don't even think it can go.
I don't think
lower.
any running backs have any leverage anymore. I don't think it's possible.
Zero. But that's the thing, though, is like you want to push the market forward. You want to do a solid to the guys behind you as well. And it's like McCaffrey's $16 million per year deal was signed in 2020. It's 3 years ago. Yeah. There's not a position market in the NFL where the highest paid guy got paid 3 years ago.
Crazy.
And no one's going to touch that 16 for 3. Bijan, probably the next guy that could do it.
Do you ever see a running back getting a major contract like that again?
I legit think the next dude that could do it is Bijan Robinson, and he hasn't played a game in the NFL yet. And that's 3 years from now, best case scenario.
I feel like it's only from here on out going to be the running backs that can also be like a slot receiver if you want to. Like if they can play two positions, that's the only way you're getting that contract.
It's just overall value.
I was looking. I was reading a Spotrac article, and the breakdown of older high-end deals compared to deals today. Think about it like this: when CMC, Zeke, Todd Gurley, David Johnson's average deal in year one was $24 million. Today, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, those types of deals are $15 million. So the entire running back market has just completely become deflated.
It was also a different era. Like that was the era of the workhorse running back still at that time. Like the Zeke's, the Le'Veon Bells, the David Johnson, like those guys. Bell cows.
Bro, we were talking about this last week, though. Like, even in the era of bell cow, like, workhorse running backs, how many of them have rings? None of them.
Well, again, we just said,
like
it doesn't affect their...
No, but I'm saying, like...
Right, you're saying they don't win... Like, those teams don't win.
A lot of Super Bowl winning teams don't have a superstar running back anymore. That's really going to last, like, 15
All right,
years.
Brad.
Dude, who was the guy who scored all those touchdowns in the Super Bowl for the Patriots?
James White?
James White? Yeah. Exactly.
He was nice.
As a cap expert, though, how do we change contracts to benefit the running back market?
I mean, they have to renegotiate the CBA. You need to get 3-year rookie deals so you can maybe get to the market faster. Because the issue now is
that's facts.
The rookie deal and 2 tags, that's the shelf life of a running back anyway. And teams realize that now. So
it's fucked.
Shorten rookie contracts is probably the number one way to do it. People talk about, like, can they have their own union and kind of branch off?
Yeah.
I mean, no.
That'd be
It
crazy, bro.
would be crazy. But they really are. Like, when you go into those conversations, what Aaron Rodgers is thinking about and what Saquon Barkley are thinking about are two entirely different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I was reading that as well, shortening the contracts or the rookie contract specifically. But because it's like, it feels like within those 5 years afterwards, like you're at 27. There's so many analytics, shout out PFF, that show that at 27 and X amount of carries, your stats just completely.
Here's the thing that I'll say real quick, because PFF, I think, gets associated with that a ton. And coming from my contract background, like we're talking about Zeke and McCaffrey. Adrian Peterson and Chris Johnson signed for $13.5 and $14 million in 2011.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like Saquon Barkley's not going
Wild,
to touch a deal from a decade ago. Like it wasn't PFF. Like the NFL figured that out before us nerds came around and started saying stuff.
That's fair. Wow.
That's crazy.
I'm upset about it because I'm a Giants fan, but I understand it.
But then the second part of that is just the evolution of the running back. Like you said, being more of a receiver and being able to just be more dynamic overall. Like you see Jahmyr Gibbs, 200 pounds, and is a great receiver, probably the best receiver we've seen since Christian McCaffrey as far as running backs. And so is this like where it's going? But then at the same time, you have Bijan, who is that prototypical 6 foot, 220 running back. So I don't know. It's hard to see.
What's the next position? Like, obviously the running backs are like kind of a tank position in terms of contract. Quarterback is the exact opposite, right? Quarterback is just booming every year. What's the next position to boom from a contractual standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's corner. Like there really hasn't been much growth since Jalen Ramsey 2020 also, I think he signed for $20 million. You have Jair at 21 now, 3 years later. Like, I think you get your AJ Terrells, obviously Sauce eventually if he keeps playing at his level. Pat Surtain, like there are some dogs coming up. And I think, like Tariq Cohen, et cetera. And I think they push it further because, like, receiver last offseason, interior D-line this offseason exploded. And I think corner's probably next.
What about like defensive linemen? Like obviously Quinnen Williams just signed a big contract this weekend.
That was
like,
this offseason. Like this offseason, I think rivals receiver last year. Like we're not talking about like Deron Payne, Dexter Lawrence, like all these dudes. Quinnen. I think Chris Jones is going to get $27 million a year. Like we're experiencing that right now.
I feel like wide receivers have booms, but I feel like it's the same thing with the same way with quarterbacks where it is going to consistently boom. Jamar and Justin Jefferson are going to get 35 at least a year.
Their contract's going to be stupid.
It's always like that, bro. Yeah.
So I don't see that stopping at all, but I don't know.
Edge same way. Bosa's going to get 33 plus.
Crazy.
Like, yeah, he should, honestly.
Is there enough of a discrepancy between interior linemen and like edge right now? Because I feel like they, in a way, should be paid very similarly, and they both are getting paid a lot. But like, what? If it's a D tackle or an edge, like what's a more valuable position to pay?
So they just closed the gap a ton. Like it was edge off by a mile. You had 28, 27 mil for your Watt, your Bosa seniors. But now I think because of Aaron Donald, who I think proved that like if you have an elite pass rushing DL, he's worth as much as any edge in the NFL. I love this question when you sent it over. Like I do think there's arguably more value in paying an elite interior defensive lineman right now. Because I look at it from, you go to free agency, you're not getting really any very good player. Yeah, there's your Draymond Joneses, your Zach Allens, but like every offseason, we wait till July, and like Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, these dudes sit around and then show up and have 10 sacks and 50 pressures. Like Jerry Hughes, etc. Like those don't exist at interior DL. So you look at that in the draft too. You don't find good elite D tackles in the third round and after. Like they're just top 50 picks or you don't get them.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's Mozzie Smith.
That's a good point. What do you think of Mozzie Smith?
Stud, dog. I mean, they needed an
dog, right? You heard it first. You heard it here.
They needed to run stuffer badly on the defense.
No, facts. But that was draft picture. Here's my wallpaper for a minute. But that was one of my things. I was talking about him, and that's the thing, right? They're not going to get as much shine and just the accolades as these edge rushers, just because people like sex, and that's what we can see. But you get a guy like Mozzie Smith. I mean, Micah Parsons was doing what he was doing last year. Come on, bro. Take away the bias.
I'm sorry. It's just like every time you say Mozzie Smith, it kills me because at the draft, you're like, who the fuck is
that? We were at the draft. Like, the Cowboys drafted, I was like, I don't know who the fuck this dude is. And then, like, the next day, I was like, bro, best pick in the draft, bro. Best pick in the draft.
We're filming everything, and I, like, pan over to Felipe, and he's like, who the fuck? Mozzie Smith.
Hey, I did my little research that night.
Who did you want?
I wanted Nolan Smith.
Fair.
I wanted Nolan Smith. I was looking at him. There was some tight ends on the board.
He was gone. Nolan went in the first, late first.
Yeah, we were drafting in the late first.
No, but
we drafted before the Eagles.
Mozzie was your first round?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But the biggest freak in college football, according to whatever the Athletic guy said. So
yeah, the freaks list. Yeah. No, but like think about Dexter Lawrence when he got drafted. And everyone's like, oh, he's a nose tackle, can't get upfield, can't pressure. And now he's, taking over football. I mean, he single-handedly won the Vikings game. Like, he lived in the backfield. So
yeah, there's like guys like if you can get a freak at the defensive tackle position, like a DeForest Buckner and everything coming out of college, like that dude was a fucking.
But again, like back to my point though. I mean, you got Micah Parsons doing all this without much of an interior presence on the defensive line, which is huge. So yes, this guy can get individual numbers and get 8 sacks, have a great year. But even with 3 or 4 sacks and just being able to get that interior offensive line to force you can only put one guy on Micah Parsons. That literally will break
so you get more one-on-one matchups.
Marcus Lawrence, Osa Digizua, and Parsons are going to be just running
the pod.
Shout out, friend of the pod.
Yeah,
he's
been on the pod a couple times.
Where do Osa and Mozzie Smith rank in the duos?
Dude, I like Osa a lot. I think he's one of the more underrated dudes in the NFL right now.
Hey, come on.
Damn.
I hope he's listening.
I do agree though. I think in defensive linemen, it's not as sexy, but I think defensive linemen are more of a valuable position than an edge. And I think because if you could stop the run as well and put pressure on the quarterback, that's a multifaceted approach that we definitely need. But when you bring up Micah Parsons, who's going one-on-one with a left tackle or a right tackle, yeah, the numbers are gaudy. They look insane, but can you do other things for you? Now, Micah's dropping in coverage, and that's one thing. But then you have the Knicks of the world.
He'll be dropping less. He'll be dropping less this year, too.
But if you have a Nick or a Myles Garrett dropping as well, or like, sure, can they stop the run? But it's not as... They're not stopping the run as much. I have nothing else to add to it.
And here's the second thing that a lot of people don't realize that maybe didn't play football, don't like really understand this, but Defensive tackles play a big part in holding the offensive linemen so linebackers could flow freely and go make tackles. So you think about like Ray Lewis had Haloti Ngata right there. Patrick Willis, like guys like that always have that big interior defensive presence, and you need that so linebackers can roam, right? Or else the lineman will come off to the second level and take a linebacker. So they just play such a huge role that it can't even be seen.
A great defensive lineman can make an average pass rusher elite.
And linebacker.
I wonder if there's like any examples you can think of with that though.
Like Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football, but playing behind that D line certainly helps.
Yeah. I mean,
you're hitting on all our fan bases right now. He's a huge Niners fan.
And now that we got Javon Hargrave too.
Why am I blanking out? Who
with
else?
Eric Armstead and Nick Bosa.
Who else was on that defensive line for the Eagles last year? Because it was stacked.
I mean,
Javon
Hargrave, Cox. You had Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. I think is super underrated too. Reddick obviously was a stud. And they could be better this year. I mean, Hargrave's a big loss.
The point I'm trying to make is because that defensive line was stacked, Hassan Reddick goes crazy for sacks. Now people think he's one of the best pass rushers. He is elite, but because of that interior presence, it allowed him.
Fletcher Cox,
exactly.
Here's an example too. The Eagles being the Eagles, I think they've realized like go platoon at edge. Like they're all good players, but I mean you're paying Hassan Reddick $15 million. He's your highest paid edge rusher. Then Sweat's at 13. Then you have a bunch of rookie, Nolan Smith now, etc. Like they can rotate dudes that play 600 snaps a year, not 850, and they're fresh and they set the record for sacks last year. Like it's again, I'm not devaluing edge, but I think they realized why pay one dude $30 million, pay four dudes 15, and just tee off.
Yeah.
What was the ranking we did last week? What were the edge rushers we had?
It was like the top four, I felt like.
Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, and Nick Bosa. How would you rank those four?
Yeah.
And then who's the fifth?
Bosa and Garrett, I think, are like for 1 and 2. I think you go either way. Yeah, I think Bosa's probably a better run defender, so I'll probably give him the nod. Garrett, then for me, that was 2. I think Garrett is the best pass rusher in the NFL by like a decent margin.
Damn.
Why?
I mean, for us, he has a pass rush win rate 3% higher than the next guy over the last 2 years.
Wow.
Like, it's
so
crazy.
I
mean, I think just winning. I mean, I think he's one of the best athletes walking the planet right now. Frankly, if you watch the guy play basketball,
that dude play basketball,
it's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a great body. I mean, look at that.
He's just like visually, like he looks good.
Great guy.
He's built like an action figure.
For real.
Yeah.
And then I think I'd probably throw in Micah, and I'm pumped for Micah this year. Like, I know he's always been a full-time edge, but like fully dedicating to it. And then, I mean, TJ Watt, man, like we overlook him. He was injured last year, but the dude is ridiculous as well.
Insane.
Yeah, it's a tough list.
Who's that?
So who's five?
Who was the fifth name? I already blanked.
We didn't bring up the fifth. So like
Who was you off the
because
dome?
we feel like those are the four.
Yeah, I agree.
So then the fifth is like
I think it gets down to like Max Crosby should be in that conversation.
Yes. He's so underappreciated.
He really is.
I'm a big Max Crosby guy.
Does not come off the field. Is as good a run defense. He leads us in pressures and defensive stops against the run the last 2 years as well. Like both categories by more than 10. Like the dude does not come off the field.
Quick.
So I'll throw him 5.
Also, you mentioned the 3% pass rush win rate for the idiots like myself that don't understand that much. Can you explain that? Can you dumb that down? What does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. So there are a bunch of different permutations of it. Like Next Gen Stats uses like player tracking data. Ours is just film based, right? So we're watching a one-on-one. Do you beat your blocker? And that's a pass rush win, right?
Did you win that assignment?
Right. You might not even get a pressure on the play, but you clearly beat your assignment, and then are getting upfield. So that's a pass rush win.
Also, I wanted to add one more thing. There's only one person in the top 10 from those top 4 that's, their run defense is one of the highest graded. So Nick Bosa is the only person in the top 10 out of those 4. So that goes back to my point saying defensive linemen or D tackles might be more important, more valuable, just less sexy than an edge because they could stop the run and be in that, pass rush.
Stop the run too.
But no one's there besides Nick Bosa.
That's all I'm saying.
TJ Watt's like 12, but outside of that, like.
And Crosby is probably why I have him 5 because he's probably the next guy.
Yeah, Max Crosby's 4 on that list.
The impressive thing with Max Crosby too is that he has no help on that defense.
None. I mean, Chandler Jones did nothing last year.
But I'm saying
No, he was horrible. Besides that one play at the end of the year.
They're overrated. We're talking about pass rush specifically though.
No, I know, but I'm saying of the top 4, of the top 5 guys that are elite edge rushers, they're not necessarily in the top 10 of stopping the run.
Yeah.
We're having 2 separate conversations.
Yeah.
We haven't done D tackles yet. I'm curious. Okay. And you could all go around. Who are your top 5 D tackles in the league?
Donald still clears. Chris Jones, I think, closed that gap last year, though.
He had such a good year.
I'll go Jeffrey Simmons 3, which might be a little bit controversial.
People
but
don't talk about him.
They don't talk about him probably because the market he's in. But you look at that Bengals playoff game a couple years ago where he had 9 pressures, 3 sacks. I mean, almost single-handedly won the game for them. It gets real tough. There are a lot of studs right now.
D-Hop said he wanted an elite defense.
Still DeForest Buckner.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Defoe's up there. I would go young guys though. Like I'd probably go Quinnen maybe next.
Yeah,
Quinnen is so
and then
good.
here's the thing that's crazy
Dexy.
with Lawrence. So looking at just when guys line up as a nose tackle, 0 or 1 tech,
Shout out
he
to
had
Giants.
40 pressures last year as a 0 or 1 tech.
I saw
the
this
next
stat.
highest had 13. Like the guy,
That's crazy.
like the guy, and it is part Wink
As a
Martindale.
0
Like
or 1, too. That's crazy.
yeah, like Wink Martindale scheme shit up. He probably gets more. I don't know if I can swear. Sorry, gets more
Sorry,
one-on-ones.
Have we not cursed yet?
Shit.
I don't think we have. All right,
Wow.
cool.
Fucking
This
let
is
him
the
fly.
longest. This is the longest time we've gone without.
I was gonna
fucking
say I
let
was
it
waiting
go.
for a while. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I did like 3 times already.
Yeah, so he's just different. So I'll put him 4. Is that 4 or 5?
That was 5,
I
I
think it's
think.
5.
There
yeah.
you go.
And
Jonathan
then
Allen deserves a
honorable
shout, too, though.
mentions. Honorable mentions.
Jonathan Allen deserves an honorable mention. I think it's crazy Deron Payne's making more money than him now. Like I think it's pretty funny. He's a freak. So I'll throw him as an honorable mention.
I like DJ Reader at Cincy, too.
Stud.
Yeah.
He's good.
Also
Got to
stud.
stay healthy, but a good player for sure.
I feel like there's a top 2, and those top 2 would be Chris Jones and Aaron Donald. And then
Yeah.
after that, you could pick whoever based off of whatever
Who am
stats.
I
you want.
missing? Like, who, I mean, Hargrave, I guess.
Guys are missing. Derek Brown had a good year. DeForest Buckner, Cameron Hayward's always been a stud.
Derek
Yep,
Brown.
yep.
Von Hargrave, obviously. Dalvin Tomlinson. I mean, Cleveland had an
For his role, for sure.
underrated offseason.
Who's your D tackle, Adam?
Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, he's
Elite.
good.
He's
He's
elite.
good.
He's elite. Put him in
Also,
there.
Digazua?
Mozzie Smith.
Zach
Smith.
Sealer.
You could already
Seiler.
put Mozzie Smith
Yeah.
top 5. Bro.
Maz is 1. Let's be real.
He's the biggest freak in college football.
That's all I had to
And
hear,
in the
bro.
NFL
All
now,
you
honestly.
needed. It's all you needed.
That's all I had to hear.
So is that a decent argument to say that defensive tackles are more valuable than edge rushers?
Well, it's an argument that can be made, yeah.
Should they be paid more?
You could probably make an argument both ways. You know,
I still don't
it
think
doesn't
they
matter.
should be paid more because like the numbers are what you can back up to get a contract. I feel like, but
No, but you're not using those same numbers for defensive tackles, though.
yeah, I know.
I think it just depends. Like the high end defensive tackle is just as valuable as the high end defensive end, maybe.
I would agree.
You need both.
Yeah.
You
I'm
need
not
both.
saying objectively you could say one is more important than the other. I just think defensive tackles don't get enough love.
We
Never have.
We asked Ari Meirov this question, and he gave us an answer. I'm curious if you'll think of the same name. What player in the NFL has the best contract in the NFL?
For the player or for the team?
Let's do both, from a player's perspective or from the team's perspective.
So I'll go first from team perspective, and this is a funny answer every time I give it, but it's Patrick Mahomes. It's not even close. And you hear that about about a $500 million contract, and you're like, how is that the answer? But I mean, to get 10 years, realistically, 12 years of team control, and beyond that too. So Patrick Mahomes, in terms of cash flows, the first 2 years of his deal made about $76 million. Lamar's making $80 million this year in the first year of his deal. Like, it was partly because it was during the pandemic, but essentially just negotiated, hey, we'll guarantee money way out into the future, unprecedented level, out in the future, but you're going to take low cash early so we can keep Chris Jones, we can keep Travis Kelce, et cetera. And it's like, he'll probably get it redone, maybe even this offseason, but it's not even close, really.
Insane.
I mean, the value of getting
like when he got paid, he was obviously the highest paid quarterback, and now he's what, like 8th or something.
Once you
like that,
have
I think.
once you have guys like Joe, Trevor Lawrence, Herbert getting contracts, this dude is gonna. I think
He's not even gonna be in the top 10.
Yeah, he's not gonna be a top 10 paid quarterback.
Or, fringe.
Will there ever be a quarterback that completely reshifts what quarterback contracts look like? And when I say reshifts, obviously a percentage being
And then I want to
Yeah.
get
What's
players'
gonna happen.
perspective on
For
that first
sure. I
question.
mean, Watson, you could argue, kind of already did that, and I think teams are going to always say it's kind of an outlier because he was basically in a situation where you're in the middle of your prime and you basically become a free agent, right? Where it's impossible to be a free agent, right? Like you're going to get tagged. It's just not going to happen. With his no trade clause and then Houston being willing to move on, like he was an unrestricted free agent at 26 years old as a proven top 10 quarterback. So that one, but the tie to the cap thing, I don't see it happening.
Why is that?
We hear it all the time. I mean, I just don't think teams are willing to kind of give that precedent away. Like the first team that does it, the other 31 are going to just be like, "What are you doing here?" Which kind of did happen in Cleveland, but it's just the cap could spike soon too, and so they're probably afraid of that. It's also just the fear of the unknown of like they don't really know where it's going to go year to year. So you want certainty. That's part of what makes Mahomes' deal so good. Is like you just know what you have for so long. Because at the end of the day, not to simplify the league too much, but like basically everything just spills down from like how much are you paying your contract, and then you just figure like the rest out. Outside of the quarterback. So.
What about from the player's perspective? What player has the best contract in the NFL?
So I think one that jumps off the page is Leonard Williams. Just had unreal leverage when he got his deal done. 3 years, 63 mil. First 2 years guaranteed. This year is the last year of his deal. Going to make I think 18 mil. Like had the second tag. Obviously got traded in the middle of it, which gives you leverage. And he's a good player. There's no question about it. But for him to get like Buckner money when he got it, and Chris Jones money, it's
crazy.
Just a very good deal for the player. Also kind of a funny one, but still true. I mean Taysom Hill getting like getting top end tight end money, like $10 million a year. Like, you know, and yeah, he's a fun gadget player. He does a lot of different stuff. You have to factor the quarterback in.
He's
but
fun. That's
crazy
about it. He's good entertainment.
For sure.
No, he's good. Relax.
He's the best 20th round
Good
pick in
athlete.
I
fantasy.
love picking him up in fantasy.
Yeah.
I can slot him in as a backup quarterback or
best-
as a tight end.
He's a great He's a great
The
football
best is when
player.
he plays
'Cause
quarterback for a week and you can put him at tight end.
I
was just
have
about to say
played
that.
him when he's gotten 30 points in fantasy before.
I look forward
He's a good-ass
to the
player.
3-week period in fantasy every year where he has one crazy game. Then ESPN or Yahoo, they're like, do we put him at a quarterback or something? It's crazy, and then he fucking comes
It's going to
tumbling
be
back
great
down
when
to
Derek Carr gets hurt this year. We'll be like, hey, might be Taysom Hill time. What are we going to do? Like,
Man, when we had Ari on, Ari mentioned Dak Prescott.
yeah.
In terms of good for the player?
In terms of good for the player.
Yeah, so what Dallas did there, which they kind of always seem to do, is like they just waited so long and tried to like win the negotiation. He probably would have taken the Goff and Wentz deal, 32, 33 million a year. He was in the same draft class right after the third season. And instead, you go to a first tag, you go to a second tag. And it's like he got hurt on the first tag. It didn't matter. You're just giving the player leverage. So, yeah, it was a great deal when he signed it. He can get a new deal soon, too. Getting the 4 years is smart for the quarterback. The market's always going to grow. Like, you want the shortest deal possible. So, yeah, he's probably on that list.
Would it be fair to say that the CBA stinks?
For the players, yeah.
players?
Like, I remember this, too. This is a random story. But it happened, actually, March 12th, I think it was. It was when COVID, it was the week COVID started.
Yeah.
And I was actually at my bachelor party, which is a whole side. But it was Miami. It was a good time. Yeah. So anyway, I remember, like, I don't think it would have passed if that doesn't happen. I think they kind of scared the players. Like, look, we might not even have the league. Like, you might be making no money. You got to sign this thing. Yeah, the owners, I mean, just dominated that negotiation.
Do you know when the next
It's 2032, I think. It's
The
forever. It's 11 years.
God.
What were you about to ask?
No, the next CBA.
the next CBA?
CBA, yeah.
Because it just sounds like if you think
Collective
of,
bargaining agreement.
which is your favorite, Jack loves this
did he-
conversation.
Yeah.
It's like if you just look at every single contract, every argument comes down to there's not enough, or the years are too much for a quarterback or for a running back. Like everything is fucking the player.
Pretty much, yeah.
The CBA is fucking the players.
Yeah.
But the NFLPA is the ones that also negotiates it. So I don't know. This is only a conversation for me and Brad. I told you we're going to do
Wait,
a
we'll
one-on-one.
Hey,
hit
but the
this off
cap,
here. Hold on.
anything I've learned, the cap is fake. You
No, I
told me
figured
that.
we get into that at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, wait, what's...
Is that him
okay.
right when he tells me that
That was
the
gonna be my
salary
next
cap in the NFL is fake? Like, I don't even know what that really means.
Firsthand.
Go into it.
Brad Spielberger.
Nailed it.
Brad
Yeah,
Cap
he
God.
fucked it up.
Bradley Spielberger.
Cap God. Is the cap real or fake?
So the cap is real, and I get this question a ton, and I love it.
Shout out New Era.
The thing that, no cap, the cap is real. I think the thing that comes into it is
Caps
like
off.
people look at, that was a great little segue there. The people that look at one single year cap number, like that doesn't matter. You can manipulate stuff, you can move money around. The Dolphins are spending $300 million on a $225 million cap. Like you can manipulate things, but ask the Los Angeles Rams if the cap is real. Like, what are they going to tell you? Like, it's a credit card, is what I say. It's a credit card. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
But you can get away with it for 3, 4, 5 years, for sure.
Interest rates are going crazy.
Yeah, tough time. Yeah.
Do you think it's a smart thing to do to build your team kind of? That happens to me all the fucking
He does
time.
it all the time. He does that all the time.
No, but I'm curious. Like, do you think it's smart to try and build a team the way the Rams did? Like, obviously they got a Super Bowl, but I feel like they're kind of screwed for the next 5-ish years. Like,
So my perspective has changed a little bit where I'm a big, like, build for the long haul, try to build a sustainable winner. You know, we came up with the Patriots where they would, like, let dudes walk. They would trade Chandler Jones away. Like, and it was why they were able to sustain it was they basically were like, we're paying elite players, and otherwise, if you're a very good player, like, we're probably gonna let you go, right? Because you're not gonna be worth your contract when you hit the market. So I always was kind of like, oh, the Rams approach is dumb, yada yada. But I honestly think I've changed a bit where it's like, dude, the Super Bowl is so hard to win. It's so random. If you don't have Patrick Mahomes, like, good luck to you. I think if you're close, where the Rams, the Bucks for me too, you had all these awesome rookie contract players you drafted so well, and you had Jameis just like dragging you down. Go get Tom Brady. So I wouldn't do it all the time. I think some teams chase it when they're not actually that close. But if you are, I'm kind of in favor of doing it now.
do you have any examples of teams that you think have tried to chase it too much, like when they're not actually that close, like recently?
Yeah, I mean, the Saints, everyone always, when the cap is fake conversation
feel
comes
like
up,
they're
they
there.
always say, oh, yeah, the Saints, man, like, they've proven it's not. There was a 5-year stretch where Drew Brees, his lowest passing yardage was 4,800.
Yeah.
They went
That's stupid.
in a 5-year stretch. Yeah, he had 5,000 like 3 of the 5 years.
Would have been top.
I love
They made the
him,
playoffs
bro.
one time. They went 7-9 4 of those 5 years because they had Jarvis Bird was the highest paid safety in the NFL. They gave Junior Galette a ton of money. Like they were just spending money like willy nilly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Deep cut.
And it just didn't like they were not close. And it, it's kind of a waste.
So I'm kind of curious. We've never had this conversation, but So could you rank the best could you rank the top 5 NFL front offices then?
Ooh.
Easily.
Whoa.
Because I think, maybe even go to top 10. Because I feel like I got into this argument last night with someone over, there's a reason teams stay at the bottom. There's a reason
about front offices.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. It was
my
great.
life.
It was
I know. I was like, this is crazy.
It was with a man.
That's my day-to-day.
With Amanda's dad, we were going over it because he was talking about DeAndre Hopkins, right? Oh, if he's so talented, why isn't every team running to go sign him? And what I was trying to say was that if you get cut past June 1st, you're kind of fucked as a player because all these teams, from a positional spending standpoint, have already spent their money. So what I'm trying to say is there's front offices that are at the top for a reason, front offices that are at the bottom. Those consistently have turnover. Could you rank top 5, top 10 front offices in the NFL based off of your cap expertise?
Yeah, so I always have the caveat of, the ownership matters so much. And I think we kind of ignore that a little bit. The Eagles are number one. They're a distant number one. And I'm not saying that just because, Jeffrey Lurie, their owner, will spend whatever they want to spend. They're always going to be near the top of the league. Cohen. But, Howie Roseman just...
Shout out the...
Who's that?
I was saying Steve Cohen, Mets.
Big Mets fan, yeah. But
He'll spend.
He's too
The
much.
results may follow.
Yeah.
They might probably.
but
It
he
will.
doesn't always work.
You know
The
who he
Eagles
was
might be
bringing
a
up?
good example of it working.
No, but they haven't won besides Nick Foles recently. So.
Howie Roseman, though. Shout out that...
Yeah.
Yeah,
but-
we're good.
Yeah, true.
All right. Anyway,
What were you
number
saying?
2.
Yeah, no, he's the best GM in the league. Frankly, not close. They just do things differently. When he is a cap guy, because he is, so obviously he's like a god among us, contract nerds.
Like me.
It filters down, right? So they're doing things in their contracts that I don't see with other clubs. Language to protect themselves or get out of a deal or all these different things. So they're probably first, and then I think it does get you get into the conversation of who's doing the most with the least. I probably wouldn't put him to, but what the Bengals are doing right now with Duke Tobin, probably spending near the bottom of the NFL most years. Their drafts and free agency classes the last 3-4 years have been insane. Hit it. You mentioned DJ Reader. Him, Trey Hendrickson, Jadobi Uzie, Mike
Logan
Hilton,
Wilson,
and then the draft classes too. So it's kind of the juxtaposition of how little they're actually spending and they're still good. So throw him on there. The Bills of Brandon Beane right now are a very well-run organization. You get early extensions done with all your good players. Josh Allen's deal is also a steal. 6 years at 43 per. He's probably already outside the top 10. Throw them in the conversation as well. The Ravens are probably still up there, but I will say, I think Ozzie Newsome was kind of the secret sauce there. Right. He's not there anymore. I think he might be the best GM of all time, frankly. And he's a Hall of Famer as a player, I think, already. So probably throw them in, and then now you're putting me on the
spot. Yeah, you got.
Yeah, the 5 spot's tough.
4.
I'll just go with one of your classics. The Packers and Steelers are still draft and develop. They don't participate in free agency to a degree. They just bring dudes in. You never hear their name in the third year. They're a stud. It's just they're operating in a different realm, and it works and works and works.
Devontae Adams out of Fresno State.
Yeah.
What the heck? That's crazy.
Well, then to counter that, who are the worst 5 front offices right now?
It's mean.
Well, I think because you can look at it from contracts, right?
Yeah.
There's the Rams.
John Lynch, I swear to.
I was gonna say the Dolphins.
Here's the funny thing. The funny thing is Lynch gets put on a lot of top 10s, and no disrespect to the guy, they've obviously been drafting like crazy, but I feel like there are other people in that building doing a lot of good work.
The one thing,
Marate is a genius.
The one thing I'll always have against John Lynch is that he had the offseason where he had to pick between DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, and Buckner had a way bigger, better body of work, but Armstead had a better year, and they picked fucking Armstead ahead of him.
For the trade for
You said about that one?
Yeah, because Defoe's 50 times better. Eric Armstead's a waste of space.
But at least Javon Kinlaw's a dog, though, right?
Yeah, great pick.
Absolutely.
Great fucking draft.
Yeah,
pick.
so not them. The Niners are definitely good, well run. So the thing too is I think people get lost in the weeds of there's not a lot of edges you can actually exploit as a GM. I think it's little edge cases. This might be, people will hate this, but the Texans trading a future first-round pick to go up and get an edge rusher is an insane move. You just gave, look, he's very good. I like Will Anderson. He's a stud, but you just gave probably a top 10 pick to go get a non-offensive player. It's just not and where you are as a franchise. So sure, I'll throw Houston in the bottom spot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he comes from
Patriots
New England,
trade, which worked well in Detroit, worked well all over. So
But Houston's been like that too when they spend big money on Brock Osweiler and all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's been a while where they've just been
tall
reaching.
guy legend Brock Osweiler.
the McNairs. They own the McNairs.
Who's Steve McNair? Oh, Cal McNair.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going on there? But they're probably bottom spot if I had to pick one. I'm trying to think who else.
For shit.
Jacksonville's doing well now, but they were obviously an easy answer for a while. I don't know. Who else did you guys
Well, what
think
about
of? Jets? I actually like Joe Douglas. But
out of teams that are spending in the cap, you got Jets, you got Dolphins. Obviously, we had the Rams. Who else are some other teams like Cowboys? What are some of those big franchise, big markets that have spent a lot of money that you're looking at That's not going to work.
That's probably what complicates the answer is that a lot of those teams. So you mentioned, Steve Keim, I think, was probably the worst GM in football for like 2 years before he got fired.
Yeah.
So he was on there. A lot of the bad GMs got fired last offseason, right? It was 9 GMs changed teams. So, like, I'm a Bears guy. Ryan Pace, I didn't really think knew exactly what he was trying to accomplish there.
You're a Bears fan?
Big Bears fan.
Are you from Chicago?
Yeah.
I feel like the Bears, it's going to be hard for them to win with the ownership, though. Like,
Yeah, McCaskey definitely doesn't.
not a great human.
Well, it's the family ownership, though, right? Where it's like, that's the thing. Like, Jeffrey Lurie is just an independent, billionaire, wealthy dude. Obviously, now the Broncos and Rams. Whereas McCaskey is just George Hallis's great-grandson.
Yeah, but Justin Fields is going to win us our dynasty team, right?
Hey, you guys want? You can give him the Bears helmet right now if you want.
I'll throw that on.
Should I put it on?
Who signed that?
Yeah, you can put it on.
That was me, actually.
Dude, nah.
Kevin White or some shit.
Who is that?
Honestly, I think it was Kevin White. I swear to God.
Wait, was it actually?
Dude, West Virginia.
Bro, if it's Kevin White, that's his
I don't know. That was
It was some like bum. It was some bum.
It's like Darnell Mooney or Equanimous St. Brown. Like,
But yeah, out of those like big spending teams, are you worried about anyone from a cap perspective?
Not really. I mean, like, I guess Chargers are interesting. There was a question about, like, who are going to have a bunch of cap casualties. So I'll go into them. Like, Chargers maybe are on that list. And look, if you land Justin Herbert, nothing else really matters to a degree.
Yeah,
but Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams all have cap hits over $30 million next year.
Fuck.
It's like, I don't know if any of those guys are going to be Chargers next year, right? So it's like, and then, like, they're good players still. But are you going to pay Khalil Mack $25 million with a $38 million cap hit to be your edge two?
Not at this age either.
Right, and like, so they are, I'm a little worried. Like, this team needs to win this year, otherwise I think you're going to see like a very different Chargers
the
team.
Chargers last few off seasons they've been going for huge names that are going to cost you a lot of money, and they still can't win shit. It just doesn't make sense.
Pretty much, and they trade up in the draft like every year, and
Didn't
usually
they just get
don't
Eric
pan
Kendricks
out.
this offseason?
Yeah, everyone's just like,
big
well,
name.
that's a Chargers signing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, give it like a 31-year-old dude like a little bit too much money. Like, that's Chargers special.
Hey,
right there.
that's going to get some jersey sales right there in LA, baby. Like, Eric Kendricks.
Yeah, they need fans somehow, bro.
Yeah, they're probably on that list.
I guess one of the things that we like to do with every guest that we have is get their top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep, that's why I'm on my phone, which I've
So
done 5 times.
it's if you reach between your legs, it's like
way more fun
It's
when you're
easier to
off
get
the
it from the
dome.
front. Yeah, there you go.
It's way more fun when you got to
That's
go
why I
off
had
the
it so I don't
dome.
forget. And Felipe, you're gonna love this list.
He already,
Fuck
We already
yeah.
had Mozzie. You're
Well,
like this list
so-
even more. So
Oh my God.
I want to know. I want to
Cooper Rush
know.
top 10 as well.
obviously.
We're gonna go. We want to know PFF Brad. What are your top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL?
All right, so first answer is obvious. Mahomes.
Oh,
Is Dak
that
second?
controversial?
Is Dak second?
He's close.
Not
He's close.
controversial.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So this is where I think it starts. I still have Josh Allen over Joe Burrow.
Yes!
I think you could argue either way, but
No,
I
you can't.
can't argue either way. Yeah,
No, you
that's fair.
can't argue either way
You
for
can,
sure.
but you can't.
But we have Josh Allen ahead too.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
you Joe Burrow guy?
Yeah, I'm Joe Burrow guy.
Yeah.
You
10-second pitch. Why Josh Allen over Joe Burrow?
I mean, the physical tools are still just different.
Yeah.
Burrow's not a bad athlete, but he's not Josh Allen.
No.
And I think, too, like, not that Allen's supporting cast is bad, but, I mean, give Josh Allen T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd.
Exactly what these motherfuckers
Thank
say,
you.
yeah.
What about Haley Steinfeld? Right? Is that
Oh,
her name?
no,
That
Great
definitely
pull.
helps.
By the way, he's got a leg up on Joe Burrow there for sure.
Also, a better playoff.
Hey,
but-
Joe Burrow's girlfriend, she's cutie.
yeah.
I met her. She's very cute.
Hey, Josh Allen, better playoff performer as well. People forget. All right.
Josh Allen better than
Yeah.
playoffs?
Like
Okay, fair enough.
stat wise.
Well,
Yeah,
stat-wise,
so-
They lose.
I mean, we
They
can
lose.
pull
I'll
up.
say, but
You want to go into this
No,
again?
there's a stat wise, but like I'm just.
You want
Who's been to a Super Bowl?
the team?
The Bengals have been to a Super Bowl.
Just. I'm going to say this for the 55th fucking time. Just because Trey
has
Wingo
nothing to do with
says
Trey.
that winning's not a quarterback stat
It
does
has
not
nothing
mean
to
that
do-
it's
it
not.
has nothing to do with
Is
Trey.
winning a quarterback stat? Yes or no? To a
Not
degree.
really, no. To a degree, yeah, but, like, not.
Hey, it was a good try, bro. It was a
It
good
is
try.
when it's
I was
Tua,
just
though.
hoping he would say yes, and I'm like, fuck you.
I mean, so then Burrow. Now we're
Well,
there.
he's the one arguing Josh Allen over Burrow anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna,
yeah.
Give whatever
Come on,
answer
bro.
helps my narrative there. Yeah. So then Joe Burrow. I mean, I do think to a degree there is like clutch and all that stuff and all those like all those cliches that get thrown out there. Like there's realness to it. I mean, Joe Burrow is just like the guy turns it on for sure, and that matters.
He's
So,
also just ice cold.
ice cold.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, I mean, like the Chiefs game. I was just watching the quarterback thing. The
Burry.
Chiefs game during the regular season, where it's 3rd and 11, he throws over the middle, gets rocked as he's throwing it, and just ices the game. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah,
He's a dog.
yeah. Like not that Josh Allen can't do that.
I was
but-
watching the quarterback thing on Netflix. I finished it.
I gotta watch it.
There's
Oh,
a
I'm
moment
almost
in there where it's right before the AFC
that game,
Championship. It's the game before where the Bengals are playing the Bills, and Patrick Mahomes Sr. asks his son Patrick Mahomes Jr. The one
Wow.
who's in the league.
Oh, really?
And he said,
really?
who do you think's gonna win, or like who would you rather play? Or
Oh, I
something.
saw this, yeah,
And
yeah.
he was like, he was like, well, I think we'll match up better against the Bills. Like, I think the Bengals are better. Like, I think we'll match up better against the Bills, but I want to play the Bengals. Like, I want to play
because
he wants to play Joe.
because he thinks Joe Burrow's the next best quarterback.
But he was also saying because they keep talking and running their mouth.
That happened. No, but that didn't happen until after they beat the Bills.
Shut your mouth.
So they hadn't even said that yet, right? The mayor didn't even release the shit yet.
All that shit. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but that was just it was a cool.
That was
moment.
crazy though.
It was a great moment,
and they both feel that way. Yeah, it was pretty dope.
We're like Mahomes is more scared of Burrow, I think, than
sure.
Josh Allen.
I mean,
because Burrow is cold.
Yeah,
I would trust Patrick
Nah, it's just a
Mahomes
better
saying
team.
that Burrow's the second best quarterback. Hey, maybe.
I mean, he was 3-0 against him. I don't know if anyone else even has a winning record against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Probably don't.
I don't know any of the stats because it's
watching the
from a
quarterback
video.
show, they were talking about Joe Burrow before they played, and he was like, Joe Burrow's the only quarterback to win twice against Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but this idea that he is clutch, there's a lot of stats to refute that.
Yep.
Just gonna put that out.
really?
He definitely had. There are like the first
Just
playoff
saying.
run. Yeah,
Hey, how many touchdowns?
He has 0 fourth quarter touchdowns in his
The
playoff career.
Bengals defense has outscored Joe
You can
Burrow in the
clutch
fourth
those
quarter of the
without-
playoffs.
you can
The
clutch those without-
Bengals
the
defense!
defense has outscored Joe Burrow in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. Think about
man.
that. Just take a
You
second.
can't do anything about that. That's
But that's
great.
clutch. That's clutch.
That's clutch.
no, the Raiders game, the Titans.
What's the
game,
rest of your list?
No,
Just
I mean,
saying.
we could spend all day on that.
You want to cherry pick? I'll fucking cherry pick later. I'll come up with some shit for you tomorrow.
Ice cold, bro. Ice cold. Ice cold.
Get some new
All
glasses.
right, so let's move on to number 4.
Yeah, so 4 is probably just because I'm a hurt Bears fan. So Rodgers is still up there. I know he wasn't as
Yeah.
good last year, but back-to-back MVPs. I mean, the dude is just probably. I still think Mahomes is going to take this title, but like the most just like fluid, like just makes the game look easy in another stratosphere. So I'll go Rodgers.
You hate
Then-
him more than any other player in NFL history.
By leaps and bounds, by a country mile.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he's not in the division anymore.
that was probably
like it's sad as a
day to
fan. Like the
remember.
happiest day is like a guy leaving from another team.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
But it's true. It's a reality situation. So
Fuck 'em.
Like I was genuinely like talking to some of my buddies who were big Chicago fans, Bear fans, and everything. I was like, "Do you hate the Packers or Aaron Rodgers more?" They go, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers."
I think that's fair for sure. I mean, the thing is, too, like I respect the Packers, like because of my job too. Like I just respect that they do business the right way.
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard for me to hate the entire organization, but Rodgers, man.
Nah, fuck the whole organization. Bear up, bear
Your
down,
whole
all
life-
the
your whole
above.
life, you just been getting fucked. You got Brett Favre right into Aaron Rodgers. Like that's
Literally the entire. Like,
Now Jordan Love's gonna be the GOAT. So
But hey, at least you got Jay Cutler and Sexy Rexy.
correct.
So, yeah.
Rex Grossman being a Super Bowl, like people forget that. Like,
Hey,
This is actually a random tangent, but we had a running joke in the office. We were looking up what are the lowest graded games where a guy still won.
Oh,
And
God.
Rex Grossman, of the top 10, Rex Grossman had like 4 of them. Like he had like 26 grades. The Arizona game where they had like they are who we thought they were quote.
Yeah.
He had like 4 interceptions for like 97 yards. The
won.
defense scored like 3 times. Anyway, yeah, it was a random tangent.
That
So
defense is
yeah,
amazing.
Sexy Rexy's not on this list.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, which is controversial.
List is invalid.
Trubisky also not on the
Yeah,
list.
Mitchie,
Just off. Just a fringe guy. Yeah. So here's where I think it gets a little controversial. So I'll put Justin Herbert 5.
Adam, you hate that though.
I mean, it's
There
over
are-
Jalen Hurts. I'm curious.
Hurts is going to be lower than you like, I think. So, yeah, big for the NFC East. So, the Herbert justification, I mean, yes, he's got to do something. Yes, they blew a 27-point lead. And I do think at times he wasn't making plays. He also was hurt the entire year. Their receivers in that game were not doing anything. But, like, the game against the Raiders where he converted maybe 4 4th and 10s. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that game.
Yeah.
It was one of the craziest performances I think I've seen in, like, a very long time. And, again, I don't make these determinations off of one game. But, like, he is our highest graded passer on 3rd and 4th down the last 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, and again, like, I don't like splicing things up. Like, you want to look at the full body of work. But the dude, I think, just has physical gifts that are hard to replicate. So, him at 5. I got Lamar at 6. I think the narrative on Lamar is going crazy.
Yeah, it's
It's
facts.
going crazy.
We agree.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
It's
We
bullshit.
agree.
Yeah. So,
He's a dog.
him at 6. I got Trevor Lawrence at 7.
Ooh.
Little early.
I'm a big T-Law
like that?
guy.
Yeah.
I love T-Law.
Jalen Hurts is falling.
He is falling. Arguably a little bit early on Lawrence. I was kind of a doubter. Like, first half of last year, I feel like people were, like, praising him as, like, oh, he's top 10, he's the next up, whatever. And I was kind of, probably because I'm a Justin Fields fan, I'm a hater. But I was like, I don't see it yet. Second half of the year, I mean, he was our second
amazing,
highest graded
bro.
passer for the second half of the season.
Damn.
so
His average
good.
time to throw was second fastest behind Tom Brady. So, like, you're seeing things where it's like,
He's processing a lot quicker.
yeah. And, like, for me, like, avoiding pressure, avoiding sacks, like, all that. Like, I love Joe Burrow, and he was better last year, but quarterbacks deserve more credit for the sacks they take, and his pressure to sack rate was like one of the highest in the NFL. And so like that always like that's probably still why I have Allen ahead of him.
Joe Burrow sucks. It's all man.
See, now
I thank God that they got rid of Urban Meyer, though, man. Holy shit.
That's the thing, too, is like he basically didn't have a rookie year, right? Like, last year was basically his first season. Now you drop in Calvin Ridley out of nowhere. It's like, I think they're going to be set. So
I'm so excited for that.
They really are.
Never been excited for the Jags, but I am.
Jags.
A few years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Saxonville.
You're right. Yeah.
All right, so we're at
7.
All right, then we got Dakota Rain Prescott coming in 8.
So over Jalen Hurts.
Dak over Jalen Hurts.
Correct.
I've been saying it.
Hey, congrats, bro.
Body of work. Probably a better passer.
Dak doesn't lose to the Eagles. People forget.
But he's gonna bring the analytics. So continue.
I mean, I just think one of the better processors and just his pocket presence right now, like can work through his progressions. Like I think is an underrated just like manager of a football game. And not using that in a negative way, like in a positive way. Like I think he really sees it a lot. And for whatever reason, there was this narrative early Dak, like the supporting cast is why he's so good. You can't do it without him. And not to take away from Jalen Hurts. They had the best offensive line in football last year. And had A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, and Miles Sanders. Like, it's like, again, I mean, Hurts is next on the list, but it's just like, I don't really know why he didn't get the same kind of early narrative. And then, he led the league in interceptions. Cool. Stafford led the league in interceptions. They won the Super Bowl. Like, who gives a shit, right? Like, it's some people, they always pick these stats that they choose to care about a given year. His interception rate is like, over the last, his body of work is like lowest 10 in the NFL. Like, the guy.
God, here he is. I always say this. I always say this.
Yeah, like, and we do turnover-worthy play rate, which is like, dropped interceptions, stuff like that we would count as a turnover-worthy play. He's way low on that list.
Ball king.
Yeah, no, Dakota does not get enough respect. And I think, dude, you get a healthy Michael Gallup, add in Brandon Cooks. Like, I'm higher on them this year. Like, I think they're a legit contender this year.
You missed Daniel Jones, or did you skip him?
Hold on. We're not done with that yet. But I'm glad you mentioned supporting cast because everybody always brings up that narrative as if the offensive line was even good last year, which they weren't.
Right.
And I think this is a PFF advanced stat probably. Like the pass, y'all have same way you mentioned pass rush win rate before. I believe there's like the pass block win rate.
Sure.
And I remember seeing Dallas was literally like 32nd last year, like 30.
For a stretch, probably. Yeah, not by the end of the year, but I'm sure they were. Right? No, it's like Tyler Smith's gonna be a good player. Like Terrence Steele when he gets healthy will be huge. Obviously Zach Martin is Zach Martin, but like like Tyron Smith, love the dude, but not the same player.
Injuries just have been
it's tough too, and with a weird contract, it's an 8-year deal that he's still playing on, which is the longest active deal in the NFL right now, but by like a decent amount. But like it's just weird. He gets that narrative, and also CD, like T.Y. Hilton was the second in explosive reception.
It's so bad.
That's actually pathetic.
Played like 4 games.
But he gets that narrative because he's the Cowboys quarterback, and I think it was like the same thing with Tony Romo. We were talking about it last week. Whoever's there in Dallas, they're gonna get more hate than another guy if he's in Minnesota, right?
Not even to rile you up even more, but like Tony Romo is one of the underrated quarterbacks.
Oh my god.
Dude,
bro,
you're striking a chord for it.
Take me home.
That's how you
to the place.
This is my favorite guy we've ever had on, bro.
We almost had one fucking episode without Adam singing.
Yeah, true. Almost.
Oh god.
You see yesterday too. He was at the golf tournament they do, and he was like, some fan had him sign a Zin, and he just tossed.
He
threw one in.
I saw
He threw one in. Yeah.
He was signing the Zin pouch. The Zin packet, and I was like, he took it. I was like, yo, that's my fucking guy. Right there.
He's like, you only have 2 left. He's like, it's all good. It was dope. So anyway, and then I said Jalen Hurts,
Brad
and then
Spielberger
9
confirms,
9
is Jalen
Hurts is 9.
my backpack. What's up?
Jalen Hurts is 9.
Jalen Hurts was 9, and then 10. I think you can have a conversation.
Wait. Hold on. Pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Why is Jalen Hurts 9?
So look, I think he's a very good player, no question about it. Look, the Eagles almost traded for Russell Wilson. Like, they didn't believe in Jalen Hurts to a degree until this past season. I do think he took massive steps forward. Yeah. Like, yes, I mentioned the supporting cast, but his grade and accuracy outside of the numbers skyrocketed last year. He also was a guy that took a lot of sacks that I think he could have avoided. That came way down last year. I still need to see a little bit more. Like, he had one phenomenal season, and I think he was pretty good in 2021, but it's like the body of work thing. I think we go over, like, a guy has a flash in the pan year, and people throw him super. It's like, dude, it's hard to be consistently good in this league. Defenses change how they play you. Like, even Josh Allen, for example. Like, the Bengals last year drop 8 and just don't pressure him at all. Don't blitz. Frankly, don't even send 4 rushers. And he was, I mean, in the torture chamber. Like, he was, and so, like, he'll bounce back. I mean, they did Mahomes. Then Mahomes last year just checked it down and just took what the defense gave him. Had 40 touchdowns, and like 25 of them were behind the line of scrimmage. Like, which, again, not against him. But so I think you have to let a guy, like, everyone's going to now switch how they play him. Can he respond to it? Like, that's big to me.
So a lot of people are very high on Geno Smith right now because of that narrative. And maybe I'm a very biased Niner fan that fucking hates the Seahawks. I just don't understand why everyone's so crazy about him after just one really good year. Like, what are your thoughts in general on Geno Smith? Because you guys are all Geno Smith guys. I am obviously not, but I'm like curious what you.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has been good for the last year and a half. I think it also helps that he had like 6 games the year before that I thought he looked pretty good in as well. The narrative's probably gone a little bit too far, but for me, like 2 rookie starting tackles last year. So as long as his surrounding circumstances were great, had the most 20-plus yard touchdown passes for us by like 5 or 6.
I heard he was like the best rated deep ball passer.
Yeah, he was last year, and it's like. Again, you take what the defense gives you, but if you make your money just throwing, all off play action, and you're throwing behind the line of scrimmage, like Jimmy G, like with all due respect, like
a lot of respect given out.
I'm giving a lot of respect.
I'm catching everything.
I am a big
with all due
Jimmy G
respect to
guy.
them,
you would be.
no respect given.
Yeah.
I mean, handsome fella, but just like
there's the respect.
Yeah,
There you go.
but like Kyle Shanahan, like
Also
that helps,
handsome
and George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, like it helps.
Oh yeah,
Jimmy
you
stinks.
you could put some
stinks.
second string JV quarterback back there. He'd throw for.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's what
you
you got
did.
with Sam
That's
Darnold
what
this
you did.
year.
Hey, he's
So
gonna be
how's your
dog.
QB?
Wait, we got 10. We
Hold
still
on.
need 10.
How's your QB as a winning stat argument going?
Oh, it's not going well. Right now, I'm not gonna lie to you, but
At number 10, who's the infamous 10?
So it's Deshaun Watson, and like
God bless.
Like, look, I get he wasn't good last year.
Have you listened to
for
this pod before? Because it sounded
Is it
like
very close?
you're taking just takes for you.
I'll be
like,
100% honest. I've listened to one episode, but I've watched a million TikTok videos.
Yeah.
So, like, I am a fan. Like, I for sure am a fan.
great.
That's awesome, bro.
But yeah.
Adam's been beating the Deshaun Watson drum for a long time.
On the field.
We really
On the
all
field.
we
On
really
the
all
field.
have.
On
To
the
be honest,
Deshaun
You're right,
guys
you're right.
On the field.
I think Deshaun Watson on the field
On the field.
is probably a top 4 quarterback.
on the field.
Yeah, he could be. And that's the thing, too. The Browns are a sleeping giant. Like, that roster on paper is nuts.
It is.
It's nuts.
they're sleeping
We've
giant.
been
I like
saying
that.
too.
Who?
Coach Al
Elijah
won't.
Moore?
You think they're
Elijah
gonna?
Moore?
Will they wake up this year?
Comeback season.
The thing with them is, like, Stefanski and Watson is fascinating to me because Stefanski comes from that tree. He wants, like, get to the top of your drop, get the ball out. Watson is like a run around, scramble, find something downfield type of guy. So, like, it's more of like just figuring things out. But dude, talent wise, like top 5 offensive line. Now their defensive line was terrible last year. You add in Zadarius Smith, Ogbo Okoronkwo, like Dalvin Tomlinson, all these dudes.
Yep.
Like they could be sick.
I think the Browns are the biggest sleeper in the AFC.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Their division's tough, but I agree.
Now, what about honorable mentions? What you got in there? You got 2?
Sleeping Giants.
Sam Darnold.
No. The honorable mentions for quarterbacks he wants.
quarterbacks?
He's looking for one in particular.
Okay, so Stafford always gets thrown around.
Yeah.
Kirk O'Chains is in the mix probably.
Hell yeah, he is.
Yeah.
0 for 2.
All right, let's see here. Who could be your sleeping
Nah,
giant?
don't give him. Don't give
Yeah,
him.
all right,
it.
look.
Don't
Tua
give him
Tagovailoa is a top 15 quarterback in the NFL.
There you go.
What about with a full tattoo sleeve?
That's a good point.
He did just
If
get
he
his
threw
full
righty,
sleeve.
I think he's like top 6.
Yeah, but
Like,
he just got his whole
No, I mean,
right
I've
arm.
seen
We don't
Tua.
know
Okay.
for a fact, but we know that the front half of his arm is tatted and then the shoulder's tatted. Now, if
Yeah,
that whole
he
thing
was wearing a
connects,
long
Wilson tribal.
sleeve.
I think you bump him up 2-3 spots. Yeah.
So he goes
He's-
from like 15 to 13.
like
But actually,
So right now
with
he's
upper
I've
mobility,
seen
right?
it.
Like,
If Tua, you flip it where he's throwing righty,
he
it's
looks
actually
unreal.
it looks so
looks unreal.
good.
Yeah.
You ever
It
seen
looks
Tom
really
Brady
good.
throw lefty?
It
It looks terrible.
It's so weird.
All right, 1 for 4.
Where's
it.
my
So
boy
what's the
Big Cock
Dolphins?
Brock,
Huh.
though?
Big Cock Brock, I mean, 6 games, but he was a dog in the 6
Hey,
games.
a lot of
highest
dogs.
pass
There's a lot of
rating
dogs
in
out
the
here.
league for those 6 games. Never lost a game that he started and
Never
finished.
lost.
Just
Let's
saying.
get Mac Jones' opinion.
It's not a good opinion.
Yes!
I mean, the thing with Jones is like, I'm not gonna say we saw his peak his rookie year, but like the rationale against not drafting him was like you've probably already seen his athletic near peak, right? Like
Absolutely. Yeah, we've
he's a
seen
good
it.
processor or whatever, but the offensive line is average right now for them, especially the receiving core is bottom 10 in the NFL. Like
Terrible.
defense should be
born
good.
9/11.
I do think also like Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien is one of the bigger upgrades of the entire offseason, but he's just mid. He's just the definition of
27 to
mid.
like 23.
So okay, so mid right is technically by definition middle of the pack, average.
Yeah.
2 is 15. Where's Mac?
Like 20, 22 range.
Haha.
I mean, you get into
So he's a bit worse than mid.
It's below mid. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so.
see,
Well,
When I think
you're
mid, I
being
think
too
below
tactical.
I'm being very technical.
I
you
think
know
mid
that's
is like
okay.
just below average.
Leap
Yeah,
is
I
a
guess.
Big Mac.
What about
No, I'm not. I'm not a big Mac. I'm not a big Mac Jones guy at all.
While we're talking about mid, what about
Yeah.
Daniel Jones?
Daniel is upper mid, like like,
You think he's better than Mac?
Like he's like like Penn Station mid, like he's like.
Whoa, Pitt Station's pretty terrible.
No, I'm trying to think of like
not point
streets in
authority.
Manhattan.
Like,
So
we talking
yeah, maybe a little bit higher. He's like like Grand Central mid.
That's like mid. You know,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
in the middle.
yeah.
He's like mid. So he's pretty close to Tua.
Oh, we should have the mid rankings.
He's close to Tua, yes. I think he's
Tua-
in that.
Tua
in
or
that
DJ?
range. I would take Tua still. I would. Look, DJ. I mean, it's funny.
Hey, one of
so,
them's an athlete.
They're both.
One of them has a sleeve.
I guess Daniel's maybe a better. The sleeve helps. That's information I did not know coming into this.
No, we fully haven't.
DJ's never getting
yet,
no sleep.
But
if DJ did, and like a neck sleeve.
I'm kind of curious though. You mentioned Dak. You put Jalen Hurts out of the quarterback position. Who is the most underrated and overrated quarterback?
I'm on the spot here. I mean, I guess I'll throw Daniel Jones because he got the contract. He's not overrated. He's not overrated in like the public opinion, but
you think he's overrated? I thought
by his own team based on the 4-year, $160 million they gave him, I guess.
Yeah,
that's a bad answer
because
right, the Cap's fake, so it doesn't matter. That's a bad answer because obviously fans.
Well, he's a nice guy.
What about in that top 10?
Good fella.
If we're rating good hang, I think Daniel Jones is like a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
You ever see like
Sneaky
videos?
Good hang.
I think he's a very
met
sneaky
him.
good hang.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's in New York, but no one like hears stories of him like being like a dick, but like he's definitely out on the scene. Like he's out there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah. It's a whole different list, but he's on there. Anyway, it's weird for me. Like the same front office with Joe Shane had a quarterback in 2018 that had 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He had almost the exact same passing grade for us, which is just a stat. Like throw it in there. Had the same big time throw rate to turnover worthy player rate. Again, like you can nitpick all these things, but was a very similar in traditional stats and advanced stats. That was Tyrod Taylor with the Bills in 2018. He almost had the exact same stat line as Daniel Jones. And I thought, okay, they're going to tag him or they're going to just like make a tough decision. I don't hate like getting the long-term deal done. I mean, he'll be a top 15, 20 paid quarterback at the end of the offseason, but I feel like he was what the franchise tag was designed for. Like he is the guy, like this is why we created this mechanism. Prove it to us one more time. And in his defense, his offensive line was average and his receivers were bottom 5 in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
But I thought I would like to see more personally.
Is he like Kirk? I feel like Kirk Cousins was that guy that used to say that about. He's like, this is the franchise tag guy. Like this is what it was created for.
Pretty much, yeah, right. And it's like,
But Kirk has a little bit more explosiveness. I feel like than Daniel.
Explosiveness?
Like as a passer.
I think Kirk is an underrated, accurate passer. Like, and Jones obviously has the athleticism when he's not tripping on the 10-yard line. Like he is a good runner.
One time,
Just one time.
One time.
Yeah, no, like
It's a big one time.
He's a good runner. Like, and they'll use that, but it's just like again, like we're talking about running backs. Like you don't pay quarterbacks because they can run. Like,
People forget that he was running the fastest
shot
a
at
player
Jalen
had
Hurts?
run on that.
Yeah,
play.
what does that matter though?
I'm just saying.
He was running too fast
He
for his
got
own good.
so fast
Right.
that he was
Yeah.
running
Never been
faster
that
than
fast.
any player had run that season. He was moving so quickly.
He was.
I like what Dable's doing though with him.
Dable is already a top 10 coach in the NFL.
Yeah,
like
100%.
on the edge cases
totally
too. Like, that's
turned
the
the
thing.
team
Like
around.
coaches don't have a lot of ways they can impact games. I think on Sunday, but the edge cases, I think he's phenomenal already.
So off the dome, then just off that top 10 head coaches in
Damn.
the NFL.
Top 5. Top 5.
Top 5.
Oh, top 5.
10 is a lot.
I won't
Or
do
not
order.
even in order. Just
Yeah, it's
throw
not
them
even in
out.
order.
Yeah.
Shanahan,
We gotta wrap up
easily
soon.
on there. Bill Belichick's on there
McDaniel.
still.
Thank you, boys.
Tomlin's still on there. Harbaugh's still on there.
Yeah.
McDaniel's a pretty good head coach.
Pete Carroll?
Pete Carroll's on there for sure.
Andy Reid.
Yeah, duh. Andy Reid's 2 or
Yeah.
1 or 2. Yeah, there's 5 right there.
It's
yeah.
either the way that you ordered this, I'm gonna think that you said Shanahan first.
Yeah,
and Shanahan is one.
Shanahan's
I'll take
probably
that.
up there.
He threw McDaniel in there. It wasn't because someone mentioned it, but he
It
said
wasn't because someone
McDaniel's
mentioned it
there.
5 times in his left
No.
ear.
There's a lot of good coaches though. I mean, they even mentioned like Doug Peterson, pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Peterson's definitely up there. You know?
Yeah. It's good.
Robert Saleh,
Sean
Niner
McVay.
legend.
How bad is Mike McCarthy?
Not that bad.
Okay, good. Good.
Here's the funny thing: like, he gets such a bad rap, and like he does. Here's the thing: though, like he looks like a doofus when he's doing things, and I think that works against him. If he was like a suave dude, if he was Mike LaFleur's appearance,
Right.
we think he's the top 5 coach in the NFL.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with
McCarthy
you. I
works
agree with
so
you.
well in Green Bay though, because he's just a big chunky white boy.
Oh, he fits the cheesehead
You know
mentality.
he's eating cheese curds every fucking day. Like, now
Just
in
the way
Dallas, I don't know.
Lipe said that. Okay, good.
Yeah, that was
Imagine
hilarious.
like Mike
That was
McCarthy
hilarious.
could never coach the Dolphins. There's not a chance. he
Right,
would.
he'd be sweating bullets on that side.
And in that teal, that would be terrible.
Him and Hard Rock would be
Holy
bus.
shit, it'd be so
Yo,
fun.
Brad, we got to wrap up, but really appreciate you coming on, dude.
That
This
was
is
a
a
fun
ton
episode.
of fun.
So fun, man.
Thanks for, shedding some light on some
Everything.
contract stuff, validating Felipe's opinions. I hated
Validating
that
Joe
part,
Burrow
but-
overrated somewhat.
But yo, please come on anytime, man. This was a great time. Hopefully, come football season, we'll talk.
we gotta get you back
actual
on.
shop, what's
Hell
been
yeah.
going on in the league. So, thanks for listening to the Caps Off podcast, y'all. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.
Where do you put Jalen Hurts in your top 10? Let us know below. Also, we are almost at 10K subscribers, so please share with your friends.